Hello and welcome. You're watching NDTV 24/7. I'm Usama Shah. We are focusing on a pivotal moment in India's foreign policy unfolding in the heart of the Mediterranean. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he is visiting Cyprus. This visit, experts are calling a strategic masterstroke and a powerful new chapter in India's global engagement. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's historic visit to Cyprus, the first by an Indian Prime Minister in over 2 decades, it marks a significant shift in India's foreign policy, seen as a direct message to Turkey. With Turkey backing Pakistan on the Kashmir issue, India is subtly countering this by strengthening its ties with Cyprus. India has unequivocally stated its support for a united Cyprus. In fact, beyond its strategic implications, this visit holds substantial symbolic and economic importance as well. Cyprus, it is a major foreign investor in India, pouring billions in sectors like technology, shipping and energy, further bolstered by a defense agreement which was signed just last year. Now, the vibrant people-to-people connections, it is also evident with over 14,000 Indians residing in Cyprus, working, studying and celebrating their culture. In fact, the timing of this visit is also quite critical. Cyprus is slated to assume the EU presidency in 2026, which perfectly aligns with India's ongoing efforts to finalize a free trade agreement with Europe. Additionally, Cyprus, it is also a steadfast supporter of India's bid for a permanent seat at the UN Security Council. Ultimately, Prime Minister Modi's visit to Cyprus, it is not just about enhancing bilateral relations, it is also about bolstering India's global leverage, navigating complex geopolitical challenges, and also contributing to the vision of Viksit Bharat 2047. In fact, my colleague Mohammad Ghazali joins us to take us through the latest. Ghazali, how does the Prime Minister's visit to Cyprus, it aligns with India's broader strategy when you talk about Eastern Mediterranean?
Broader strategy as well as a strong messaging. As you rightly pointed out, this is the first visit of Prime Minister after the Operation Sindoor, and that to Cyprus, which is already engaged in a kind of territorial dispute with Turkey, and it has also started evoking reactions from Turkey. One of the newspapers in Turkey has already started criticizing Indian Prime Minister's move that he is going to visit a region which is in dispute with Turkey. The other important factor, which is very significant considering the fact that India has been focusing on navigation, maritime security as well as connectivity, is the IMEC corridor, and Cyprus happens to be one of the key pole, or say the key gateway towards Europe when the IMEC corridor will become operational. And why it is significant? Because if you remember, the last time Indian Prime Minister visited France for an AI summit, he was briefed by the French government about the progress of the IMEC corridor, the India Middle East European corridor, and Greece as well as Cyprus happens to be the one of the key points or connectivity points when the IMEC corridor will become operational. So that is this entire project of IMEC has got stalled due to the developments in Middle East, due to the October 7 attack in 2023 when Hamas attacked Israel, and the progress of this entire project is very significant considering the fact that India is looking for alternative routes to reach out to the Mediterranean and towards the European region for its market as well as for investment. Cyprus also happens to be a country which has been backing India on multiple global forums, as you rightly pointed out, for a seat of UNSG in United Nations, as well as it has also backed India when it comes to the issue of Kashmir on global forums. This will certainly give a kind of heartburn to the country of Turkey, which backed Pakistan when the Operation Sindoor was on, and India has been cancelling multiple contracts of Turkish company in India, that also sending out a strong message that anybody who backs terror will not get support from India.
Ghazali, also give us a sense of, are there any sort of plans for joint initiatives or projects between the two countries here?
Yeah, certainly, because when Indian Prime Minister is visiting there, so 2 or 3 say that MOUs will certainly be signed when it comes to investment, particularly in defense cooperation. Also, avenues will be explored when it comes to investment in Cyprus, as well as inviting the Cyprus business leaders to India, which Prime Minister focuses when during his foreign visit. So, in the schedule, it's mentioned that though the top leadership of Cyprus will meet the Prime Minister, there is also an event which is scheduled where Prime Minister is expected to meet the business leaders of Cyprus, and perhaps he'll also invite them to invest in India. And this is an outreach initiative by the Prime Minister, reaching out directly to the investors in these countries. And in this particular tenure of Prime Minister since 2024, you'd have seen that Prime Minister has gone to certain countries where no other Prime Minister has visited in the past. Though in Cyprus, it's after 23 years that an Indian Prime Minister is visiting. You would have heard the name of Brunei, an African country where Prime Minister visited there for the first time. So it is also a kind of foreign policy initiative which Prime Minister holds it close to its heart, to its policy, that he is reaching out to Cyprus immediately after Operation Sindoor. One, sending out a message to Turkey for supporting Pakistan that it will be isolated, and also developing and fostering new relations in the European region.
All right, Mohammad Ghazali, thank you very much for getting us all the latest. In fact, I'm also currently joined by Mr. D.P. Srivastav. He's the former Indian ambassador to Iran. I'm also joined by Dr. James Dorsey, journalist and Middle East expert, adjunct senior fellow at Nanyang Technological Universities here. In fact, Ambassador Srivastav, give us a sense of the strategic implications of this particular visit. How do you assess the strategic implications and the significance of Prime Minister Modi's visit, particularly in the context of India's relationship with Turkey?
Let me put it in historical perspective. Cyprus was one of the, along with India, a member of the NAM, non-aligned movement. So we have a relationship which goes back about 6 decades. Cyprus was a victim of Turkish invasion, which hived off one part of the country and has supported a government which does not have international recognition. So in many senses, Cyprus has suffered a similar fate which we have. Cyprus has also joined European Union, and it being a country in the Mediterranean, and I had the privilege of serving as India's ambassador to 2 Mediterranean countries, Libya and Malta. Cyprus has a role in case India wants to play a role in the Mediterranean.
Dr. Dorsey, I want to understand from you, what message exactly do you think India is trying to convey to Turkey through this particular visit, and how do you think Turkey might respond to this?
Well, let me first of all say that I'm a little bit less breathless about the importance and the significance of this visit. It's clearly a significant visit, particularly given that Cyprus is going to be the head of the European Union for 6 months in 2026. It's important indeed in terms of connectivity. Most of the funds that come out of Cyprus or invested out of Cyprus are not Cypriot funds. Cyprus serves as a funnel. I think the other thing to keep in mind, the ambassador is absolutely correct that there's a long-standing relationship, but beyond the sort of advantages that I just mentioned that Cyprus has, Turkey has much more and is a much more important country. So clearly, the Prime Minister wants to send a message to Turkey because of Turkey's relationship with Pakistan, which is a very long-standing relationship. There's a lot of ideological and other common things that they have in common. In addition to which, there's an advantage that the prime minister can exploit if he wishes, and that is Turkey looks to expand its relations in Asia, and it's a key part of its foreign policy. And for Turkey, of course, Iran is an incredibly India is an incredibly important market. So I think that's what the context in which you need to look at the messaging that the prime minister is trying to put across.
Dr. Dorsey, speaking about the regional dynamics here, what are the potential implications that we are looking at? And especially, how does this particular visit fit into India's broader strategy when you speak about Eastern Mediterranean now?
Well, I mean, clearly, India wants to have relations with all Mediterranean countries, and Cyprus is one of those. It's not the most important, but it does have a strategic location in the Eastern Mediterranean, very close to the Middle East. It's very close to Greece, and of course, there are the issues with Turkey. Let me just note one thing in response to something that was said earlier. As a matter of principle, despite the fact that Turkey invaded Cyprus in 1974 and has recognized a unilateral Turkish Cypriot declaration of independence, Turkey is not fundamentally opposed to a reunification of Cyprus. The issue is not reunification itself, but on what terms that reunification may take place.
Ambassador Srivastav, are there any sort of potential areas of cooperation or tension between India and the other regional players there? And I want to point out to countries like Greece as well as Israel.
Let me just take you back a few years. There has been a tense standoff amongst the countries surrounding of the Mediterranean region. On one side was Turkey, which was laying a disproportionate claim to the Mediterranean, resources and declaring it as part of its extended maritime zone. On the other side, there were a whole range of countries ranging from Israel to Egypt and Libya, which opposed it. And at stake was the fact that both Egypt and Israel have discovered offshore gas, and exploitation of gas essentially depends on access to markets and pipelines. So if Turkish claim, an exaggerated claim, based on the fact that, there are a string of islands nearby, which they claim, to have to be part of Turkey. This would make it difficult for other countries of the region to exploit their exclusive economic zone. So there have been tensions, and I think the tensions continue. At some point, Turkey had also deployed its navy. But I think both Egypt and Israel are going ahead with exploitation of the natural gas reserves, which lies in the exclusive economic zone.
I also want to get a sense of the economic cooperation between the two countries. And I'm also joined by Mr. Sunil Kapoor, partner and COO of OL Shipping Group. He's joining us live from Nicosia in Cyprus. So welcome to NDTV. How significant do you think is Cyprus an economic partner for India?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I'm quite excited, actually. This trip was overdue. And somehow, Cyprus and India relationship has been there for many years. Both democratic countries, and we share same values, and we also trust one another. So it is high time that instead of symbolic, we take our partnership forward. So I am sure there will be a lot of bilateral discussions now. There are various areas where for the last couple of years we have been working together. I have been in Cyprus since 2017, And there are a few areas like tech, maritime and shipping, which is a very, very important place. This is a hub of ship management. And I personally feel that in coming years, we could have some sort of synergies where we can use this hub as a ship management, where ship owning and shipbuilding and also the for crew and seafarers, they can come from India. So this is one. The second is renewable energy is a big thing between both the countries, digital infrastructure and health, wellness program, hotels. So there are many, many things we have just been talking and to see how we can take this friendship forward. There were discussions, there were bilateral discussions, meeting from Cyprus and also, but there is a renewed energy in, I can say, last 3-4 years, where there is a commitment by the new president who took the presidentship 2 years back and with the Indian government. So I realized that something is going to happen very soon.
Mr. Kapoor, break it down for us. You spoke about renewable energy. I want to understand from you what role might Cyprus play in India's efforts to diversify its energy resources?
Here, renewable energy is, we have solar panels, we have a lot of infrastructure. We could be a bouncing between the Europe. So a lot of business can be generated by using Cyprus. And same way, Cyprus can use India going to various businesses in not only India, but in Asia. So these are the two factors which I feel that we could, use this mutual friendship where we can get some sort of a support in one another.
Right. Ambassador Srivastav, we are living in a very volatile environment right now. It is a difficult period that we are going through. The Middle East, it is, there is a war in the Middle East. It is ever expanding. There is a conflict between Russia and Ukraine. I want to understand the global implications here, especially when you talk about this particular visit by the Prime Minister. How might Cyprus's support for India's bid for a permanent seat at the UN Security Council impact India's global standing?
I think let me put it the other way around. Cyprus benefits from association with India. Let's not forget the difference in size. We are the 4th largest economy.
Yeah.
And our claim for permanent membership of UN Security Council rests on very strong credentials. Of course, every country matters, and UN General Assembly and has a vote. I dealt with this subject for 8 years, so I welcome Cyprus's support for Indian candidature for permanent membership of the UN Security Council. But that's a bigger game. That will be affected by many other factors and the positions taken by different countries. So we should look at this visit of Prime Minister in the context, of his visit to Canada, which is where the G7 summit is taking place. And that's a much bigger game in town. And I think that will provide an opportunity to reset many equations and meet his counterparts at the global level. G7 continues to be one of the largest economic groupings. I wouldn't call it the largest. I think it has been surpassed by BRICS, and that's because of China's weight. But G7 continues to be very, very important. So Prime Minister's visit, this visit, which provides an occasion to meet not only the rich and powerful, which are represented by G7, but also our historic friends like Cyprus and Croatia, is a very welcome and very thoughtful move. And it speaks volumes about the consideration and the energy which our Prime Minister has shown, that he has visited, he visits all countries which have relations with India.
Right. When you also particularly speak about the context of the proposed free trade agreement with the European Union, Dr. Dorsey, how might this visit impact India's relationship with other European countries in this particular context?
Well, obviously, the G7 is the key, is the crucial part of this visit, and he's going to be meeting in Canada with European leaders. So, in that sense, it's important. It's one more opportunity to exchange views and to try and advance relations, including issues such as the free trade agreement. I have no doubt that that is something that certainly in the bilateral discussions is going to come up in the bilateral discussions with European leaders.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us on the broadcast and sharing your views on this. It is indeed a very, very crucial visit by the Prime Minister, not just to Cyprus, but as you all mentioned, for the G7 summit as well.